Hi, I'm Berit Stover.
I'm Beth Mund.
Welcome to Conscious Conversations on the Sacred Letter channel. Beth and I were just talking about nature and how powerful nature is, how inspiring, grounding. There's so much information and wisdom, and there's so much that we get when we're out in nature that we don't even know, consciously and subconsciously. And I've been down here in Arizona and walking the desert trails. And I was just sharing with Beth that it reminded me of the story of a woman who I met in Phoenix in 2011 at the beginning of a lot of my spiritual journey of opening up to hear from the other side, since Beth and I connect with the other side. And I remember speaking with this woman, and she was sharing like things that were just so extraordinary. I couldn't even wrap my head around it. But she was telling me that like this painting behind me, the table that I'm sitting at, the chair that I'm sitting on, were actually not real, that they were just energy. It was just atoms and energy that we have made manifest, that we have created with this energy. And it was something that really had gave me pause, and I thought about it. And then as things unfolded for me in my connecting with the other side, so much truth came to that. So Beth, I know we were just talking so much about different types of energy, the energy that we create when we are manifesting something that's like this painting or a chair, versus what I would call like first generation, the source of energy, which is really the essence of nature and ourselves, that are that pure energy that is in nature.
Yeah. So it's interesting when we think about the other side helping us or giving us guidance. Some people call it the universe, some people call it God. It can be used, the terms can be your higher self, your soul, or even guides. And these are it's all energy. All of that is energy. And it dawned on me today, which is why I want to do this video, that nature is so abundant with energy. And I remember I had a medium who came to my house with a group of people for fun. And this was before I was connecting with the other side. And she said, the woods behind your house are so filled with energy that they're giving me information. They're telling me the names, and she was able to pick up the name of my daughter's friend from the woods spelled out for her. And so we live near a lot of acreage of woods. So I have been going and walking on trails in nature and running for years. And I've always felt better when I was in nature, and I've always walked through nature, but I'd never thought before about some of the experiences that I had in nature, how I always knew it was grounding, but I never knew the information was coming directly from nature. I just knew that I felt better. And even when I had a couple of profound experiences, it just dawned on me today that this information is coming directly from nature, which is just another energy source. The first experience that happened was I was walking in nature with my dogs. I usually take my dogs, and I had some stomach troubles going on. And I thought, well, let me just take a walk and I'll feel better. And halfway through my walk, while I was on the trail, in my mind's eye, where I normally receive information and energy, I saw it looked almost like the shape of a head, enough to see a face. And then from the area where the mouth is, there was blue energy. It looks almost like a mist that was blowing. And I heard, this is healing energy. Use this to heal your stomach. So I continued to picture the blue energy blowing into my stomach, and within 5 minutes the stomach issues were gone. And I went home and continued connecting with that. I call it blue energy healing. And I continued connecting with that healing. And it evolved. And I could look throughout my body in my mind, and I could see different colors of my body. And where the blue energy needed to go the most. So red was the strongest area where the energy needed to go, and orange was a little less in need, and then came yellow, and then green, and lastly it would turn to blue. And literally those parts, as the blue energy was being blown into those parts of my body, the color that was originally there would change depending on how much energy was needed. And I use this for my headaches. I would sit very often in the morning if I had a headache, or later on, and I would blow the energy, and I could check in and see what the color was, to see how long I would need to do this. And I knew when it turned to blue that it was complete, whether or not the headache was gone at that point or not. And then I would go about my business, and the headache would go away. And I have used this many times as healing energy, and it's evolved, and now I use my attention to heal things within my body. But this was given to me by nature. This happened while I was in nature. And sometimes when I'm healing other people, when people ask for healing, I, in my mind, naturally go to the area in the woods on that trail where I was first given this energy, and I see them there, and I see myself there, and that's where I do the healing energy from. That's automatically where I go there. So that was one experience. And then another profound experience, I had was having some health issues, and I was really struggling with my just feeling like I wanted to overcome everything I was experiencing. I was struggling, and I went for a walk again in the woods, and a bird came literally out of nowhere. Because when I say that, it was like it fell from the sky. And it wasn't flying by me, like, just coasting. It like dropped in front of me. And I know I sort of panicked because my dog was there, and I didn't want my dog to go after the bird and eat the bird. So I noticed the bird had a broken wing, and I heard the song, "Take Those Broken Wings and Learn to Fly Again," that song. And I knew this was not an accident. I couldn't explain it, but I knew it was not an accident. And I was busy taking care of my dog, and I turned back, and the bird was not there. It had flown away or something. I knew that was a message for me. And at that time, I wasn't connecting, or didn't know I was able to connect as much as I do now with animals. And birds have given me so many messages. And so whether I'm on the trail or not, the birds can very often they're more of an overarching message of our world, or our some sort of warning. They can be warning me of storms. They can warn me of just things that I need to be aware of consciously, about what they're able to do. I had a situation once where I was standing by my window, and a couple birds were floating by my window, and I tuned into them. I walked over, and I heard, "The British are coming, the British are coming," which is a phrase I haven't thought about or heard in a very long time, since grade school. And I just knew that they were talking about the coronavirus, and that Great Britain was going to come out and have some incidences where people, the royal family, were going to be infected, and that they were just the next area to be spoken about. So again, I can't explain it, but my guess is that they're having this ability to communicate all the time. It's just a matter of being able to tune in and listen. So nature for me has been a huge source of wisdom and the energy is so powerful. And so many people know this when they're talking about walking in the woods or sitting by a tree, or how they feel, how grounded they feel and connected they feel. And my experiences have been just even taking it a step further, where they're communicating. It's communicating with me, nature. And it's so alive, even when you walk through and you look around.
So beautiful. I think you remind me of a few things. One is when we're in nature, there's a stillness, it quiets us. And there's also a wonder. And we can feel that energy, just the magnificence of being in a wooded grove, or looking out across water, or being in a field with its beauty, and just the colors and the shapes, and just that vibration. And I think that it quiets us, and it stills us so that we become in tune with a similar source. And when we're in tune with nature, when we're quiet and still, like you were saying, Beth, that you are receiving inspiration, you're receiving insight, you're receiving actually direct messages, connecting with the animals, connecting with the trees, but that they are all spirits. They are all created from the same source that we're created from. And I think it's just reminding us of how, when we are in tune with that, then we're picking up on similar vibrations, similar energy that's opening us up to a knowingness. And there's no ego. Nature has no ego. And so it really is as authentic as you can get in the beauty, and in something you can also count on with the seasons. There's always, the changing of the seasons, but there's a rhythm. There's just a beauty to that we can hold ourselves in when things seem so disrupted for us. There's that constant wonder, but there's patterns that we can look to, and that we can gain insights. You reminded me too of a book I came across the other day that is by Robin Kimmer, called Gathering Moss. And she speaks about looking to nature, especially with all the changes going in our world today, but looking at moss, which seems so benign, these beautiful green moss that covers the logs and so forth, and looking at it as an old friend. And what is that moss to teach us? And she was saying, it's like a friend and mentor that's enabled us, that's enabled that moss to persist for 350 million years through every kind of catastrophe, every climate change that ever has happened on this planet. What might we learn from that? And to listen. And she's saying, it's reminding us to be small, to give more than you take, of working with the natural law, of sticking together, of the ways that they live, that is so poignant, that teaches us so much. And we can learn so much just in observing and in listening to nature.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's beautiful. What also I was, when I was receiving information from nature, and I was realizing that this came from nature and the trees. Most people want to connect with a guide. They want to know who their guides are and what their names are and who's talking to them, or who's with them, who's their guardian angel. And it's very hard some people can receive that information. They'll receive a name, an archangel. I was talking with someone today for a soul guidance session, and I told her to remember to meditate, and she heard the name Uriel. And I said, because she kept saying, who is it? Who's guiding me? Who's there with me? It helps people to not feel so alone, to know that. And in this chat we're having, if you cannot connect with a guide, or you don't know where, who's with you, go into nature, because it's right there. One, it will either help you raise your vibration, as Berit was talking about. If we raise our vibration, we can hear from our own guides. We can connect because we're in a different frequency, and that's going to allow us to hear from our own guides, or hear directly from the trees, hear from nature, sit and listen. It's because there it is. You know, it's coming from the trees. You don't have to, you know, your mind doesn't have to keep busy with who, you know, who is this, who's talking to me, why can't I get a name, you know, because then we can block ourselves from receiving. And so it's a great way to sometimes bypass the mind and what the mind does in blocking us from connecting with our own soul or our guides or whoever it is that we want to hear from and connect with. So go into nature for a million reasons. You know, to lower your stress, to feel more at peace, to hear wisdom, for inspiration, for guidance, for beauty. There's so much out there that will help us, and a great way to receive energy. Grounding. We need to be grounded. There's so much chaos and fear and going on in our world, and getting into the woods and walking on a trail, the value is completely underrated. What that can do for us. We get out there every day, we will feel differently, no matter what's going on in the world. So, yeah, so nature is more incredible. The more I experience it, the more I think it's more incredible than I ever thought.
And it really is helping us remember that we're also connected, right? We're connected to one another, we're connected to nature, and it's all of us giving that energy to one another, to lift us all up and to really be the essence and the spirit that we all are, and to listen to those messages and to know you're not alone, and just also just to observe and take, you know, as you said, the stress goes down and it just allows you to breathe.
Oh yeah, it's wonderful. So I am going to be spending more time in nature, and I'm inviting you to do the same as much as you can. And you will, I promise you, you will begin to see benefits on your entire nervous system, on your connection, on your spirit, on your well-being, and you will begin to feel better. Or if you're already doing it, start listening, start asking questions when you're there, and start listening for some answers, because they will be coming. So thank you for listening to us and for connecting and tuning in. And we look forward to speaking with you again soon.
Thank you.